right, so for the month of January, I decided to go vegan. Now, first off, let me get into a few reasons of why I did this. Number one, as a trainer, I get asked a lot about being vegan and is it healthy and should I try it and all this stuff. And I can research and I can read and I can do my best to get a good grasp of it, but without actually having experienced it, I feel like it's really hard to give out feedback that's really to the point and really beneficial without trying it. So that was my main reason. Number two, I was genuinely curious. There's so much different information out there about being vegan, and so I wanted to give it a go. And the third is I think it's always great to push yourself out of your comfort zone. So try things that maybe aren't the most comfortable, try things that put you in a place where you're not familiar because it causes us to grow, it causes us to stretch. So those were kind of the main reasons for me even wanting to try it. Now, one thing that made me not even really question whether I should is it didn't restrict my macros. I hate diets that restrict like how many carbs you can eat or how much protein you can eat or how much healthy fats you can eat. Like, I want to be able to control my macros. And if a diet doesn't allow me to do that, then I'm sorry, I don't think it's a good diet and I'm not even going to give it a go. Vegan doesn't do that, so I was willing to give it a shot. Now, if you're confused as to what vegan and vegetarian is, the difference is vegetarians do not eat meat. Vegans do not eat meat or any animal products. So that means I couldn't have cheese or milk or sour cream or ice cream or anything that had some derivative of an animal product, butter, like you name it. So it eliminated quite a few things. So I'm going to kind of give you a rundown of exactly what happened. Now, at the beginning of the month, I took measurements, I weighed myself, I did all this stuff to kind of document my progress. Now, week one was hell. Absolutely hell. Like, I hated every minute of it the first week. I felt sick all the time. Not to get too graphic, but I lived on the toilet, it felt like. I was throwing up quite a bit. It just was not a fun process. I also experienced night sweats, which sometimes you experience that when you switch to vegan or make a sudden huge diet change. And basically, I would wake up in the middle of the night like I had just gotten out of the shower, like drenched. I'd have to change and everything. It was the craziest thing. I've never experienced that in my life. And that started from like day 2 or 3 throughout while I continued it. So week one was rough. Now, my macros changed because my carbohydrates went up per day, my healthy fats went up per day, and my protein dropped. I had to find new ways to get protein. A lot of that came from beans, from chickpeas, from some from quinoa. I got some from peanut butter. I used a protein powder. I used a pea protein powder rather than a whey because I couldn't do whey. And so I was getting protein from a lot of different sources, but it still was quite a bit lower than what I'm used to getting per day. Now, the overall feeling I had of the first week, like I said, was just terrible. So week one, did not enjoy it. By week 2, I started to feel a little bit more at ease with it. I started to kind of be figuring out what I could eat, what I couldn't, and I started feeling less sick. So I wasn't throwing up. I still had a little bit of queasiness in my stomach, kind of when you eat a bad meal and it just kind of lingers a little bit. That's kind of how I felt just all day long. It wasn't really bad, wasn't like overwhelming or anything, not like the first week, but it was still kind of present. And so that was kind of my experience in week 2. I didn't see any decrease in my lifts. My lifts were completely normal, what I normally do in the gym. Energy-wise, I felt fine. So week 2 was pretty smooth. I mentioned the pea protein. Pea protein is disgusting. I'm sorry. Like, the taste of it made me sick. Like, I just did not like it. If you have pea protein, then I'm happy it works for you. I'm happy you like it, but man, I could not get used to it. All right, so jumping into week 3. Week 3 was also even better than week 2. Again, the queasiness never fully left me. Like, I always had that little twinge of just something doesn't feel right in my stomach. So that was still with me in week 3. But I really felt like I hit my stride. I learned a lot of new recipes, a lot that I will carry over now because they're freaking delicious. I do think going through it that we eat too much meat as a whole. Like, we don't have to eat as much meat as we can. There's a lot of other good sources of protein. Even before I did this, I don't really eat red meat, maybe once or twice a year. Pork is the same way, maybe a couple times a year. So I don't really eat those foods to begin with. I do eat a lot of chicken, like a lot of chicken. So that was quite a bit different. And then, of course, the other products like milk or cheese, yogurts. So now I made it to day 20. And on day 20, something happened. I weighed in, I measured myself, I did all that stuff, and I sat down and compared everything to when I started. Now, keep in mind, this is just about 1 day shy of 3 weeks, right? I was pretty shocked. My overall size was down everywhere. So I had mentioned that I measured my bicep, my waist, my neck, my thigh, and my chest. And my chest was down 2 inches. 2 inches in just barely 3 weeks. I also lost a ½ inch to 3/4 of an inch everywhere else. My neck, my bicep, my waist. The only place I didn't lose any size was my thigh. Stayed exactly the same. So my measurements were down quite a bit. In addition, my weight was down a little over 3 pounds, between 3 and 3.5 pounds. I was down. Now, keep in mind that while continuing this vegan journey, I was eating in surplus around 400 to 500 calories a day, above what my maintenance level is. So it's not like I was eating less. I was still eating above what I needed to maintain, but rather than gain any weight, I was losing weight. So, my whole thing is bones to bulk, and I just felt like it was cutting down too much size, and so I went off it on day 20. But I feel like it gave me a really good understanding of what it's like to be vegan. I know I have nowhere near the knowledge that a lot of people have. Just 3 short weeks. I mean, it's a very short amount of time. I feel like I learned a lot in that time, though. One thing I will say, hats off to vegans who are doing it naturally, because let me tell you, there's a lot of junky vegan food. Like, there's all these fake meats. Like, they literally have chicken wings and chicken tenders and popcorn chicken and sausage and hamburgers, and it's all this soy and a lot of really bad processed stuff. So there's ice cream, there's pizza, there's cookies, like all this stuff that's still vegan, but it has all this filler, all this added junk. So it is possible to be vegan and be unhealthy, I think. But going about it the natural way, just like, I teach and preach in regular eating, you've got to do it natural way. You got to eat good, lean foods. And I feel like it's the same way with being vegan. Like, if you're going about it the right way and eating good, clean foods, my hat is off to you, because it's work. It takes a lot of discipline, takes a lot of focus in figuring out where you're getting your macros from. So definitely have a newfound respect for anybody who is vegan out there, or anybody who even wants to give it a try. I think for weight loss, it can be an amazing thing. If that's like your journey, then go for it. Personally, for putting on mass, for putting on more muscle, it didn't work for me. I think it could, but what it would take would be, man, you'd have to be eating nonstop all day long, because I felt like I was eating so much that I wanted to throw up. And so I can't imagine eating even more. It would be hard. So that's kind of my overall thoughts on the whole vegan thing. Again, if you're curious about it, if you're trying to lose weight, go for it. I think it's a great learning experience. It can be a great thing. Be prepared for that first week to suck. Like, I'm just being real there. But once you get over that, it does get a lot better. I learned a lot of great recipes, a lot of great things to spice up foods, and a lot of cool sauces to make, because a lot of the meals that I experienced were very similar from night to night. A lot of stir fries, a lot of, veggies with beans or chickpeas, and then kind of over a bed of quinoa or rice. And so it gets a little repetitive. So there's a lot of great sauces out there. Shout out to Simnet Nutrition. If you are wanting to go the vegan way, go check out some of his recipes and sauces. I gained a lot of information from him. Did a lot of just trials of his foods. He's on YouTube. Great information. I'll drop his link for his YouTube channel in the comments. But hats off to that guy. He's incredible. I think what he's doing is amazing. And yeah. So that's it. That's my wrap up of vegan. It wasn't the best experience for me, but again, I'm super thankful I did it. I learned a ton. I feel like I grew a lot through the process, and I wouldn't change it. I'm glad to be back eating the way I am. I will say, being back to eating the way I am, I'm much more conscious about a few things. I think that it will be good for me to kind of stay vegan maybe a couple days a week and just monitor a little bit more of what I eat, cutting back a few more animal products that really aren't necessary, that I really don't need to be eating, because there's good alternatives. So it's changed my thinking a lot. I have a much more positive outlook towards it than I did before. And yeah, that's a wrap for me. That was my vegan experience. Again, I wanted to go the whole 31 days. I made it to 20. And again, just because my size was dropping so much. And it's all about bones to bulk. I don't want to go the reverse and go bulk to bones. So yeah, that's my journey. That's where I'm at. And again, if you have any questions whatsoever on anything related that I maybe can answer from my short stint with it, I'd be happy to answer them, or try to answer them, or maybe point you to the answer if you drop your question in the comments. All right, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Like it if you did like it. Leave us an honest comment about your feedback, your thoughts on all this, and I look forward to hearing from you. And as always, remember, regardless of what you're going after, regardless of what nutrition plan you're following, you've got this.